Have you ever wondered if Uber is stealing your tips? If so, this video may be for you. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and we're going to approach a topic that people have asked me to bring up multiple times, and I never have because until now, I have not had any proof that there might be some validity to them. Once in a while, I will get an email from someone who says Uber is stealing my tips. Of course, I respond to as many of these as possible, and I ask what happened. They usually give me a story about how they were talking to someone and they said they were going to leave this much amount of tip, or that they were going to leave a tip in general, and then they never got it, or they got much smaller than what they expected, and they conclude that Uber must be stealing their tips. I always ask them, do you have actual screenshots to prove that this has happened? Because this has been a method that has been tried and tested by Harry Campbell and other famous Uber tubers who have actually asked people if they're going to tip and even offered give them dollars to tip. And every single time that they have watched someone tip them, they have gotten a tip. Except for there was a couple people who said they were going to tip and they showed that they were showing a tip, but they didn't actually see that they pressed the leave tip button, and thus they didn't get a tip. So there's some question if there are tips that are actually being stolen or whether or not it's just, whether people are just forgetting to press the button, or, it's just really complicated. However, we have some screenshots that I think are very interesting to look at now. However, before we look at those, let's have a word from our sponsors. Times are changing for gig workers and the gig economy, and there are a lot more gigs from a lot more companies than there used to be. That's why when people ask me where they can go to find resources for the gig economy, I recommend gigworker.com. At this site, you can see what other gig workers are doing and discover better opportunities from industries, companies, resources, and even a forum where you can talk with other people in the gig economy. Gigworker.com is a great resource site, whether you work for Uber, Lyft, Postmates, DoorDash, TaxRabbit, Thumbtack, Upwork, whatever. There's a gig for you and there's a forum for you on gigworker.com. Gigworker.com for all your gigs. All right, so here we go. I have, by the way, blocked out all this driver's information, including destinations and his identity. However, if anyone wants to confirm with me that these are real, I've got them. However, I am obviously trying to protect him from Uber. So here's what a receipt he got one day. And it shows a very interesting story. It shows that the rider paid $22.20 and gave the guy a $10 tip for a total of $32.20. Now, underneath it shows what Uber receives. Uber apparently did not receive a service fee. They did do a service fee adjustment, which means they refunded $1.73, and the booking fee was $2.10 for a total of 37 cents. This seems extremely, extremely generous on Uber's part. They're taking almost nothing, and that is a very rare thing. If they're only taking 37 cents a ride, you can tell they're suffering. And you go over here, and here was a screenshot. It was a 31-minute trip, 20 and 23 seconds. Distance of 27.11 miles. So about basically $1 a minute. Not terrible, really. This is, back then that would be like a $50 trip, but whatever, you take what you can get, right? Well, here's where things start getting a little, how shall we say, suspicious. And you might notice something a little wrong here. Now, unfortunately, part of this has been cut off. I'm sorry. However, if you look under there, the passenger decided to share with him a screenshot. And on the passenger side, the fare was $22.20. However, he left a $44.40 tip, which means that Uber kept $34.40 of the tip that this guy was supposed to receive. Now then, some of you might be saying, well, what about the first thing? They didn't take out almost anything from the service fee. They didn't, they were actually really generous. So this is probably another form of Uber doing the upfront pricing. And look, I'm not going to disagree with that. That is more than likely what has happened in this case. However, there's a bigger issue at hand here. For the longest time, Uber promised the tips were sacred. You never, ever took money from the tip. The driver received 100% of the tips. It says so in the terms of service you sign that the tip money is not to be touched. Uber does not get a cent of that. And for them to take part of the tip, even if it's to account for the upfront pricing or the Uber fee in general, it doesn't matter. They are breaking their own terms of service. Here's the more concerning aspect though. Right now, Uber is getting into a pissing match with California. They have stated they want to treat the drivers better. This ride was from California, by the way. And you start seeing receipts like this, it gives off a very, very strong impression that Uber is in fact not taking as much. They are showing, hey, look at the service fee. We haven't taken any of the service fee. Hey, we even adjusted. We caved back. And the booking fee, that would, it was only $2.10. And in fact, with the adjustment, we took 37 cents from the driver. See, we are treating the driver better. And when the driver sees that, they start feeling pretty good. They see that they got pretty much the full fare. They got a $10 tip. I mean, what's to complain about at this point? Well, unless they talk to the passenger, which most drivers won't, they don't realize that a huge chunk of their tip has just been taken. Let me explain to you how this would have worked a few years ago, before upfront pricing. Like right after they had introduced tips, but before upfront pricing, this is what would have happened. The rider would have paid $22.20 plus an additional $44.40 for a tip, for a total of $66.60. There might have been a joke in there, I realize. And Uber would have then taken about $12 and some pocket change for that. That would have been there, or $15 if it was 25%. And the driver would have kept the rest. And that would have been a very good run, and everyone would have been happy. Uber would have gotten a fee that they did not work for and did not have to spend any money on having to get, and the driver would have gotten a fair amount of money. However, instead, they took most of the tip. And there's a problem when you start taking money from the tips, because the tip money, there's no way for drivers to check who's actually leaving tips. Right now, it's bad enough that Uber is admitting that they are taking far more than 20% on the fare. However, it looks like Uber has found a way to take from the fare and not inform the drivers. That's what this looks like to me. That is what this looks like to me. And yeah, this is from California, just making sure. This is bad, because I think Ubers are doing this to make themselves look better, to show that they are decreasing how much they take from the drivers. I think they want to show that they are trying to improve their relationship with the drivers, but instead they're taking money out of the tips. Heck, there might be situations where we are left tips and we're not going to get any of them at this point. Now, some of you might be asking, well, what's the difference? Seriously, what's the difference if you don't get a tip or not? Like, if the tip is their fare, but you're only losing 37 cents out of the ride, isn't that a good thing? And the answer is no. Because what happens if, say, Congress gets off their back and lets them continue operating as is, trusting Uber to do the right thing? Well, Uber might at some point realize they got away with stealing the tips. And hey, you know what? Now that they don't need to suck up to the state capitol anymore, they can start taking their service fee, their upfront pricing service fee, and they might even consider keeping the tips for themselves as well, except in rare occasions, just to show that they still give the tips out. This is extremely, extremely bad for everyone. Uber is getting more and more shady by the day, and I think it's going to get much, much worse. They are now a publicly traded company that lost $1.1 billion in their first earnings report, and they will lose another $1.1 billion in their next earning reports. And that's not good. So, and they just look bad. So many things they do, they come off looking bad. So they are trying to do something where they can continue to rip us off while at the same time making themselves look better to the public who is not well informed. So even though 37 cents, that looks pretty good, remember, this was originally a almost $45 tip, and Uber is taking from it. So yeah, look, I hate to say it. I really resisted getting all conspiratorial. I did not want to be the person to say, oh yeah, Uber is stealing your tips, because I had no proof about that. However, now I have proof that they're taking the tips in some fashion. Whether it's a substitute for the fare or not is frankly besides the point. It really is. So this is just awful. I mean, Uber's stealing your tips, I think. And I don't really care why they're doing it. They need to stop. Of course, they're not. They're going to push their luck as much as they can. They are being investigated and about to be regulated by the California government, and they're still pulling this. Absolutely amazing. Amazing. I mean, I tell you, sometimes I wish I drink alcohol sometimes. They're going to be the death of me with all this stress. However, I'm going to leave it there. So, what do you folks think? Do you think this is definitive proof that Uber is stealing the tips? Do you disagree? Is there maybe an aspect of this I haven't thought about yet? I would love to know. So comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smooth, and you get access to my Patreon's exclusive blog. If gas prices are getting you a little down, check out the Get Upside app below. It's totally free, and you get cash back on every gas purchase. If you want, subscribe to the Apptrepreneur Vlogs channel. We have more content over there, and it's a little different from what's over here. And finally, if you want to talk to me or other fellow rideshare drivers, check us out at the Apptrepreneur Hangouts on Facebook. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.